that's when I realized that reading the comments actually led me a little bit astray. And for you, it might be leading you astray. And I'll give you some data to support that. And so some people loved our different styles, but not the people that I ultimately wanted to help or am best suited to serve. And so we realized that we were serving the wrong who, and that had some very significant downstream impacts on what we made and how we made it. So what does making for them or for business owners content really mean? Let me break this down into tactics. All right, so tactically it meant 5 things. Number 1, different packaging. Number 2, different introductions. Number 3, different meat. Number 4, different visuals. And number 5, different what I'll call pre-work. All right, so let's start with number 1. So the difference between these 2 thumbnails is going from vague to clear. All right, so if I looked at all the stuff that we did in the past, if I said, what is the video on the left about? You'd probably be like, a rule of some sort that might have to do with money. Not sure. If I said, what's the video on the right, the yellow background video? If I were to describe it, I'd probably say a map or a blueprint or schematics of some sort that go from 0 to a million. Okay, well, guess what? The one on the right, it's exactly that. The one on the left actually has nothing to do with what that thumbnail looks like. And what do you know? When people click on something that they don't know what it's about, they have a smaller percentage of getting something they actually want than if you say, this is what this is about, and then they get exactly what they think it's about. So we're going from vague to clear in both what it looks like, the thumbnails, and what we say about it, the headlines. And so that's number 1, from a packaging perspective that we'll be changing and or going more all in on. And I want to take a pause here for a second about this. There was also kind of a pervasive narrative in the kind of marketing world. It's like, you got to have curiosity. You got to you don't want to tell them everything. You want them to be able to get, no. If they want that thing, they will click on that thing, and then you just give them that thing. And that has been a very hard lesson for me to learn. And so I share it with you now. So the second is different introductions. You guys feeling this? Okay, good. Okay, different introductions. Now this one is really big. So going from confirming the thumbnail or confirming the headline to proof, and this is super important, I'll explain the difference. So a lot of the things that I learned, like many of you, if you are trying to get into content creation of any sort or media, is that you look at the people who are the biggest, right? And so oftentimes the biggest people in media are entertainers. Now why is that? Because everyone gets value from entertainment, but there is no one thing from an education perspective that can provide value to everyone. Why? Because everyone already knows different stuff. So if I educate a wide slice of people, there's still already people who know that thing and then do not get value. So entertainment, by definition, will always be greater or larger, the followings for those people, than people who educate. There is no bones about it. It is that way. And so a lot of the lessons that entertainment teaches, everyone listens to because they have the biggest followings. But I don't think the actual tactics they subscribe or espouse are correct at a tactical level. At a principle level, yes. And so let me just say a second about what that principle is that the person who's going to consume the content, we want to increase their perceived likelihood that they will get what they clicked. So just like the headline and just like the thumbnails, now when they said in entertainment, you want to confirm it. Well, that's because most of the sensational entertainment is something crazy. And so the likelihood that someone just got the click so that they could not do that crazy thing is pretty high. And so if you want people to watch you smash a Lamborghini, then you better have the Lamborghini next to you or people aren't going to believe that you're actually going to smash it. Now, let's flip to entertainment for a second. Sorry, let's switch to education for a second. If I say I'm going to teach you a physics thing, I'm going to teach you about the law of, I don't even know what the first law of physics is, but if you push it, it will move, something like that. Anyways, if I want to have proof or increase the perceived likelihood that they're going to be well taught, then what I actually have to do is edify the person. Why should I listen to you? If I'm the viewer, there's a zillion people that could write something on a board. But if you're a PhD physicist, then the likelihood that I will listen to you and that I will get what I want is much higher. And so in both of these examples, we are actually doing the same thing, but we do it differently if you want to educate. And for me, when I looked at my videos, and I'll explain the data in a second, it became really clear. And so In entertainment, it's say the title again and then literally show them what was on the thumbnail. In education, it's show them that you can do what you promised them in the thumbnail. And that's the difference. And to figure out what made intros for our videos work, I actually rewatched my top 35 educational videos. This actually took some time, and so let me just save you like a lot of hours and just give you the nugget. And so I actually developed a new moniker around how to think about introductions for ourselves that I'm spreading throughout my whole team, and you can just steal it. Proof, promise, plan. So I'll break down all three of these. So all of the introductions of the best education videos that we had these three characteristics. And I want to make one point about the order of these, is that you can have these three mixed in any order you want. I would emphasize the one that is the most important for that particular piece of content. So if you have something that you're making that you think the proof is going to be really important, then lead with that. If you have a promise that's incredibly important for the audience, then lead with that. If you have a plan that for some reason is going to be more emphasized, then lead with that. But I would say that for our content, for the most, because I'm a business educator about making money in general, most people have this big glaring sign above their head before they can even turn on the volume of their brain, which is, why should I listen to you? And so I tend to lead with proof. And so proof is that you prove that you know what you're talking about. You give people a reason to believe you. The promise is to tell them what they're going to get or learn from the video. And the plan sets the expectations of what will happen next. So let me give you a real-world example of this. I started this presentation with data that shows that I've done what I'm talking about. If I went up here and just skipped this part, you might be like, okay, all of this up to this point, why should I listen to you? And you'd be right in thinking that, because you have no idea who I am. I could just be some random dude that looks like a Birkenstock, slightly lumberjacky-ish, weirdly dressed man. Like, why would you listen? And you'd be reasonable to believe that, right? But if you start with that, then you're like, okay, well, he knows something. The promise was what I said you would get at the beginning. I said I learned 6 things that made money and grew my brain that you can use today. And I'm going to save you $4 million in 3.5 years, and you'll just get all the lessons that I learned. That was the promise. Making sense? Okay. And then finally, we had the plan. I said, how are we going to get there? How am I going to complete that promise? I said, well, there's 6 changes, and I'm going to walk through them. That's the plan. And so leading with those things, we found got business owners, or the people that I'm interested in, to actually better frame and perceive and get educated on the content that we're talking about. And so that's what we're changing out of our introductions. Third, now let's talk about how this strategy changes the meat of the content. What we're actually like the real bones, the potatoes. All right? Is that going from be-real / vlog stuff, because we have made that, to list, steps, and stories. When we looked at the educational content that did the best, they had more of the right and less of the left. From razzle, I would love to say to dazzle, but it really is, it's just razzle on the left. And so I actually wanted to show a different type of content. So I don't want to make this seem like this is all YouTube-y. I just have like long form video there has all of the elements, and some platforms don't have all of them. So YouTube's a very easy platform to base this off of. But this is from Instagram, and TikTok would function the same way, etc. So if you look at the squares here, I just pulled the last 30 days of content that we made. And I looked at our bottom performing over the last 30 days that we posted that were reels. And then I looked at the top. Now, interestingly, it was almost a perfect reversal. So the bottom 12 videos that we made, 8 out of 12, I would say had more razzle emphasized. It was more about effects, a little bit higher production,